bombs are already falling in what could be the next major Middle East war. This week, Israeli warplanes launched a blistering attack on Iranian forces who have been building a stronghold in Syria. The attacks came just a day after President Trump announced the U.S. intends to walk away from an Obama-era deal, which limited Iran's nuclear arms program. Trump says the deal hasn't stopped Iran's aggression in the region, and he intends to reimpose tough economic sanctions.
It exports dangerous missiles, fuels conflicts across the Middle East, and supports terrorist proxies and militias such as Hezbollah, Hamas, the Taliban, and al-Qaeda.
America's allies in the Middle East have been locked in proxy wars with Iran for decades. Israel is fighting Iranian-backed forces in Syria and Iranian-backed Hezbollah forces in Lebanon. Saudi Arabia is locked in a bloody conflict with Iranian-backed forces in Yemen. Like Trump, the leaders of Israel and Saudi Arabia want Iran contained.
So these files conclusively prove that Iran is brazenly lying when it says it never had a nuclear weapons program.
I've seen that you called the Ayatollah Khamenei the new Hitler of the Middle East.
Absolutely.
Why?
Because he wants to expand. He wants to create his own project in the Middle East, very much like Hitler, who wanted to expand at the time.
Indeed, an anti-Iran coalition does seem to be gathering, and war is looming. Israel and Saudi Arabia are in, but will the Trump administration take part? You don't have to look further than Trump's remake of his National Security Council for clues. Moderates Rex Tillerson and H.R. McMaster were recently ousted, and hawkish Mike Pompeo and John Bolton are in. Bolton, in the past, has made clear he wants regime change in Iran.
I think Iran is bringing us closer to war with its belligerent activity in Iraq. The Revolutionary Guard's Quds Force has been moving missiles into Syria that can hit any target inside Israel.
Adding to an already explosive cocktail, tomorrow, world leaders, including Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner, will attend the controversial opening of the new U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem, recently moved from Tel Aviv. The embassy threatens to reignite a Palestinian uprising in a region already readying for war. Joining me is the president of the National Iranian-American Council, Trita Parsi. He was an informal advisor to the Obama administration during the negotiations with Iran and wrote a book about it. He joins us from Washington, D.C. So, Trita, we've got bombs dropping, we've got the embassy moving, we've got a deal coming undone. I'm wondering what's the ultimate agenda behind this? Are we talking about an effort towards regime change in Iran?
There certainly is an effort on the end of the Israelis and the Saudis and the UAE that they want to get the United States involved heavily militarily in the region in order to shift the balance of power. But we're seeing now that these countries that have been pushing the United States to do this for more than 10 years are now, with the Trump administration, pushing an open door.
So it's actually looking like there is a coalition where you're talking about the Saudis, the Israelis, and perhaps the Americans under Trump. Why now?
Well, right now you have a scenario in which with John Bolton in the White House, Pompeo in the White House, Trump having this vindictive desire to get rid of anything Obama has achieved, and the Iran deal was just essentially violated by the Trump administration.
This is a National Information Center statement. Stand by for a message from the Federal Emergency Management Agency.
Good morning. The Federal Emergency Management Agency has requested to broadcast the following instructions over the air. Due to a conflict with Iran and Russia, the Federal Emergency Management Agency has mandated an evacuation order for residents within a 100-mile radius of any major metropolitan city or military site and 100-mile radius within any coastline in the United States, including Alaska and Hawaii. This is only a precaution as a war with Russia and Iran is imminent and an invasion of the country is possible. Please note that no attack is in progress and that this is only for preparation. The National Guard has enacted contraflow in many highways to assist extra evacuees. Residents who have family outside of the evacuation zone are advised to stay at their residence until this situation is under control. If that is not possible, FEMA is setting up evacuation shelters. These shelters have a yellow square that are visible from the road and have yellow spotlights. To find shelters, go to www.whitehouse.gov to get shelter locations. Before evacuating, turn off all water and gas. Unplug any electronic equipment. Close and lock all windows and doors. Turn off all heating and air conditioning units and seal all cracks in your location. Gather all members and pets in your location. Gather any non-perishable food, water, clothing, medical supplies, pet food, medications, a flashlight, and a hand crank or battery-powered radio for at least 14 days. If you are not in the evacuation zone, it is recommended seek out a fallout shelter as a place to stay, as a nuclear attack may take place during this conflict. If you are disabled or are unable to transport yourself, ask a neighbor to have them take you, or call your local police department, as transportation is being set up by local law enforcement for those unable to evacuate. All residents residing on the island of Oahu are required to report to their nearest public airport for evacuation off the island. The Coast Guard and military are taking defensive perimeters around all coastlines and major cities. Also, the borders in Canada and Mexico have been sealed until further notice. Do not call 911 unless there is an emergency. Most importantly, stay calm. Panicking will only make the situation worse. This concludes this message. Thank you.
That was a message from the Federal Emergency Management Agency. All stations will now continue regular programming operations. The following message is transmitted at the request of the Washington, D.C. Police Department. A hostage situation is taking place at the White House. At around 2:04 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, 7 terrorists entered the White House and took the president and his cabinet hostage. At this time, they have stated that they will assassinate the president and detonate 3 chemical weapons if their demands are not met. At this time, the following precautions have been taken. Residents within a 1-mile radius of the White House is being evacuated. The SWAT team as well as the military have been called in to handle the situation. Residents living within 5 miles of the White House are urged to stay in their homes with all doors and windows locked. Stay tuned to this station as this situation develops. The following message is transmitted at the request of the Washington, D.C. Police Department. A hostage situation has ended in a shootout with police and all of the terrorists have been killed. The president and his cabinet are now safe. However, the 3 chemical bombs have detonated. All residents in the District of Columbia are urged to evacuate the area. Leave in a quick but safe manner. The president and his cabinet are currently being transported to a classified location. Stay tuned to this station as this situation develops. following message is transmitted at the request of the United States government. A foreign invasion has begun on the east coast of the United States. At around 4:45 today Eastern Standard Time, several Iranian paratroopers and Russian battleships were seen entering the city of Miami. It is now believed that the city is under their control. At this time, all residents in the states of Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, Alabama, and Mississippi are strongly encouraged to evacuate the state. Shelters are being set up for displaced residents across the country. Go to www.whitehouse.gov for shelter locations. More evacuations may be ordered if invasions continue. We interrupt our programming for a national state of emergency. All stations will follow emergency broadcast activation procedures. The President will deliver a message across the nation shortly. Please stand by. The following message is transmitted at the request of the White House. A nuclear attack was commenced against the United States. 3 nuclear missiles launched from Russian submarines has impacted the United States within the last 15 minutes. The following cities were impacted: Phoenix, Omaha, and Norfolk. The explosions have produced fallout which is deadly to humans. At this time, all residents within a 300-mile radius are strongly encouraged to seek out a fallout shelter immediately. Locations in the fallout risk area include Tucson, Las Vegas, Albuquerque, Los Angeles, Fresno, Des Moines, Minneapolis, Milwaukee, Chicago, Kansas City, St. Louis, Dover, Baltimore, Philadelphia, Richmond, Virginia Beach, Charleston, Raleigh, and Columbia. If you are not in the fallout risk area, continue to evacuate if you have received orders to do so. Otherwise, seek out a fallout shelter as it is unknown if more attacks will occur. Remember to take food, water, clothing, medical supplies, and a battery-powered radio to your shelter. Tune to 770 AM to get information during your stay. The President will be speaking on all stations shortly. Stand by for this message. This is an emergency action notification. All cable and broadcast systems will transmit this emergency action notification message. The station has interrupted its programming at the request of the White House to participate in the emergency broadcast system. During this emergency, most stations will remain on the air, providing news and information to their assigned areas. This is KPNX. We will continue to serve the Phoenix metropolitan area. If you are not in this local area, tune now to a station providing news and information for your area. You are listening to the emergency broadcast system serving the Phoenix metropolitan area. Do not use the telephone. The telephone lines should be kept open for emergency use. The emergency broadcast system has been activated.